What is your profession? Tonight, we dine in hell.
Our arrows will blot out the sun. This is blasphemy. This is madness.
Madness. This is Sparta!
You heard it up top. Things are about to get epic. Call us some Greek freaks, because we're about to talk about the one, the only 300 here. Like we said, a very, very, very special episode. Happy celebration. It's 300 episodes of Normies Like Us.
Oh,
we did it.
Right.
To quote Jason
Colin.
Tatum of the Boston Celtics, we did it.
We did it.
Hey, nice.
That's what he said.
Yeah. When they won.
That's
keep
right.
us evergreen, the NBA championship.
Yeah, dating this episode, but like the Boston Celtics, the 300 Spartans had a sort of beautiful victory, if you will.
We definitely had to face some adversity along the way.
That's right.
I
But
think
yeah,
maybe Luka
300
Doncic
episodes.
is King Leonidas in this metaphor.
That's right.
But, you
Absolutely.
know, valiant effort.
Well, because the Spartans, to them, it's a victory. That's what they say in the movie.
Right. Yep. And,
I'm not
today
tracking any of this.
Yeah, but at 300 episodes, congrats.
Do you guys
to
want to
us.
say your names for our 300 episodes?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Maximus.
This is Jakey Altes.
Nice.
There we go.
Jacopolis. So yeah, today we pod in hell, everybody. We're talking the Zack Snyder classic. I'm really high on this director, so that'll be fun to talk about. But
Yeah.
You love him.
Look,
What?
it
Yeah.
made sense. It's our 300th episode. It's 300. I don't
That's
remember what we did for 100 or 200. There aren't things called that, so I assume nothing.
Right.
No, but for the big 300, we had
Yep.
to do something special. And I think this came about when someone said, 300, we could do the movie 300 on our 300th episode. I don't know who said
Easy
it,
peasy.
But we
and we
leaned
have
into the
been
bit.
talking a little Snyder recently.
We have.
And
we do.
Yeah, we
yeah.
do, and I
we
can't
covered
escape him.
Army of the Dead, of course, Rebel Moon, his sci-fi masterpiece.
Justice League.
Yeah, Justice League, the Snyder cut. Release it.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get
Mike
the
was
Rebel Moon
telling
Snyder
us-
cut.
That's right.
Mike was telling us off pod all the ones you haven't seen. You haven't seen the Owl thing, and then surprisingly, you have not seen BVS. Is that correct?
I've not seen any of his BVS or any
That's
of
crazy
his
to me.
DC stuff, and then
Man of
I haven't seen the
Steel.
all one.
I've seen
Wow.
all the DC.
Yeah, none of those.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now
You
we're
haven't seen
getting-
Man of Steel? Yeah.
Never.
Sorry.
No, just saying James Gunn is finally making a Superman movie that's being filmed in Cleveland, where he was invented. So there you go.
Wow.
Fun fact.
Let's go Cleveland.
So we'll see about the DC. Yeah, go Cleveland.
We love it.
It's kind of like the Sparta of the Midwest, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
They died a beautiful death.
King
Um,
Yep. But I haven't seen all of those, and the more we talk about Snyder, to Colin's point, it's like my
you should
opinion
just
is
cover
pushing.
his whole filmography, right?
I'm tracking negative, yes. So, but I do have curiosities of like, what would I think of Watchmen if I watched it again? And that's kind of this thought experiment is, okay, let me go back to 300. Let's rewatch it and kind of see where I'm at now that I've been wounded so by Rebel Moon. But like, do you guys remember when this came out? Like, it was a cultural moment. Like, it was a huge movie. Like, they had Meet the Spartans came out. Like,
yes,
all the catchphrases. Like, this was a big deal. Like, do you remember seeing this in theaters, Colin?
I'll tell you, dude. I remember the exact moment. Not that I saw it, that I heard about it, because I didn't go to this opening weekend. But my best friend in high school, Aaron Epstein, did. We were walking into our high school theater. I was a sophomore. He was a sophomore as well. We were rehearsing some play after school, and he turns to me and he goes, and there's a kid, and he's like hunting a wolf, and like the wolf is like CG, and he's like getting on all fours basically. He's like fighting this wolf, and this kid, he grows up to have all these muscles, and all these guys have muscles, and they're kicking and they're killing. And I'm dumb, and I've explained this before to you guys, that like the first time I ever heard Spaceballs be described by my brother, I was like, oh, and it's a cartoon? And my brother was like, no, it's live action. And hearing Aaron describe 300, I was like, and it's a cartoon? He was like, no, it looks like a cartoon, but it's live action. I was like, oh.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the big selling point, right? It's like it's adapted from this comic, Frank Miller, 300, and it's just every panel, every shot looks like a panel from the comic and stuff, and the way it's colored, obviously, the stylization of the gore and whatnot. And it was kind of a phenomenon, right? In 2006, when this came out, I was a little 16-year-old kid just learning to drive. And I remember going to see this in theaters with my friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
Yeah.
I went to it 3 times. I really
was
impressed by it because there hadn't been anything like this. It was kind of this visual spectacle, the choreography. It was like the testosterone, these fucking ripped dudes. It was like crazy, right? Like nothing like it. It's just like the most badass movie ever. This is like during Call of Duty 2 era. Like, this was badass. You got to see it.
Yeah.
So.
But the thing with this one is like, it's like you don't get it. Like these guys, they're absolutely ripped. They wear, what do they wear? Well, they wear little diapers and cloaks, and capes, right? That's all they wear. They're completely, no shirt, nothing. They're just showing off their muscles, and it's just so masculine. You wouldn't understand. Like, it's like Marines. They're the Spartans, the original Marines. Yeah, it was
a big deal. There was a Spartan workout. The 300 workout was trending. Like, workout like the actors did to get fucking jacked.
Yes, and I gotta say, we'll talk about the whole movie. We'll jump into it, whatever. But with the initial reactions, I do remember the second weekend box office going super strong. And you guys are talking about cultural reaction. It was almost, Magic Mike hadn't come out. The women box office driving this thing was huge, coming back.
Sure.
Oh my God, look at these hot bodies.
Like
I remember Zack Snyder doing an interview where he was like, that's exactly it. These hot bodies, it's all these women going. That's what the box office is. And not realizing like the huge gay population that like loved this movie too, of course. So, worth mentioning.
Well, I'm excited to talk about sort of
we had to cover 300,
Yeah, maybe the intentionalness and the unintentionalness of certain themes of this movie. I'm excited to talk about.
Yes.
When was the last time you guys watched this movie? Because for me, it's
been a while,
years and years and years, right? So I rewatched it. Yeah, I also watched the prequel, which I'll just mention, 300: Rise of an Empire, which was not directed by Zack Snyder, but he did co-write the screenplay. And he passed it off to another guy who I assume was like his stunt coordinator or something.
Something like that. Yeah, I did watch that too on second screen. It's like a weird pre/sidequel. Like, it's kind of happening at the same time at certain points. It's all on boats. I didn't love it, but I had to complete.
Yeah, we won't talk about that too much, but
well, we might have to. Maybe because reveal, we all did watch it. I did watch it as well. Normies, maybe I hope you guys did too. Jacob said the best thing about it, where he was like, it's Furiosa.
Yeah. In our chat, I was saying it's like the Furiosa of 300, where it's like expanding the world of 300, I guess.
Yeah.
And you got some returning characters.
So much
like
backstory.
And it is more
Xerxes
of like character pacing. It's not just the tough guy, it is, but it's like,
I was going to throw out maybe the hot take: is it a better movie than 300? Which we can.
I don't know.
Let's weigh in on that at the
Let's
end.
get into it. Yeah.
But my question up top for you guys is: have you ever read the graphic novel? Like, I think I almost did, just out of curiosity, to see how much of it is like panel to panel, and how much of this is maybe someone's creative vision, independent of that. So
I have not read it. Obviously, it's was made by Frank Miller, who is kind of a weird guy to me. Like, he's the anti-Alan Moore, right? Two old crotchety comic book guys, one super left-wing, one super right-wing, which is funny that Zack Snyder would do Watchmen right after this. But Frank Miller, he's I'm not a huge fan of him. Obviously, The Dark Knight Returns is like what he's most known for. And I have read that, and I think that's maybe like the best thing. I haven't read too much of his stuff, but I haven't seen 300 basically.
I've always wanted to read it. I'm not really a big Frank Miller fan either, Jacob. So that's kind of what's been holding me back.
And then I guess just before we jump in, the legacy of this too, like we did get, you know, a Sin City and this kind of whole thing of doing. There was a lot of George Miller stuff looking like comic books, and this whole thing kind of because of this movie.
And I will admit, I did see Meet the Spartans in theaters. I don't know if you guys saw that film.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Okay.
But mentioning Sin City, that was kind of, you're right, it was a cultural moment because I think that was 2007. Sin City also Frank Miller, and that's Robert Rodriguez, and that had obviously a very stylized look to it. And I owned that on DVD because I watched it and I was like, oh yeah, this is my shit. So I was actually a pretty big fan of Sin City. It also has a sequel that's not as good, I think. But
well, how about The Spirit, Jacob? Another Frank Miller comic book directed by Frank Miller that again has this CG green screen style.
Yeah, that I have not seen. But it's interesting how in the 2000s we had all these comic book movies that were really leaning into, you know, being comic book movies and having this stylized look, and we sort of abandoned that in the MCU era.
Can I make a distinction to you, Jacob?
Yeah.
I would argue they're not comic book movies. These are graphic novel movies.
Very true. Very true. I would include Watchmen in that as well.
Yes, 100%.
But they don't really. I mean, that's kind of why I like the Spider-Verse movies so much, because even though obviously that's animation, but they do lean into the comic bookiness of it now. But the MCU movies, they are like, no, this is taking place in like real life, so we got to make it real life. We can have stylized.
Christopher Nolan put a gun to this aesthetic's head and pulled the trigger and said, grounded, and that is what we all embraced for the rest of time.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But for what it was, you know, 300, it changed cinema for a little bit. It was like this thing, and it pretty much is why we still have to deal with Zack Snyder today, I'd say.
It's maybe his legacy, Mike. It's true. That's legacy. Very interesting.
It was his breakout, right? Because he made Dawn of the Dead before this, and that was liked enough. But this was his mainstream sort of breakout, and then he did Watchmen, and then he was sort of given the DC reins for a long time. And it sort of also it made, you know, Jerry Butler's career, Gerard Butler, star of this movie.
Creatures of the Night.
Dude, crazy, because Gerard Butler was like the biggest star. But I guess we'll jump into it here. But just it's crazy to think that, like, you know, after Dawn of the Dead, and then this is really when you start to see the style of Zack Snyder emerge more than you would see in, let's say, Dawn of the Dead. So this really, I think, is his legacy. So let's maybe jump in and talk about it. Let me take off my shirt, get my shield, you know, and walk by some wheat. Another theme we'll be discussing right after this.
I'm moving in slow motion.
Yes. Play this podcast in 2x speed.
We're back here on Normies Like Us. Like we said, we are celebrating 300, but we're doing that by talking the Greek epic 300. We're talking the 2006 film. Woo!
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
sorry. By the way, because this is the 300th episode, and we're talking about 300, this episode will be 300 minutes long.
That's right.
So get ready for that, Normie.
I hope so. I hope
Buckle up. I certainly have enough to say about Zack Snyder's career. We're starting now.
Yeah.
Do you guys, starting with the history of Greece, like, do you guys actually, were you familiar with the Spartans and Thermopylae, you know, the Battle of Thermopylae and stuff?
I actually was.
Prior to this?
The Battle of Thermopylae. I used to watch like the History Channel a lot, and they had this show. I can't remember the name of it, but they would just talk about old battles, like Greek battles and stuff of history, and they would have like computer digitized animations of it, and they would show like how, you know, the troop formations and
a lot of arrows pushing towards each other.
Yes.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I saw their like Battle of Thermopylae episode back in the day, and I was like, oh, 300 Spartans, cool. And then this movie
Spartan
came out, and I was
shield combat. Yes,
excellent.
The phalanx. Yes.
Yes. And of course, go ahead.
No, the term like the hot gates, like I think people were familiar with the tactics behind this, you know, and I mean, it's still used in the military today, the idea of like a kill funnel, so to speak, like a narrow pass. And that's kind of this whole graphic novel is like a romanization of that battle with Leonidas and his 300 Spartans taking on a much larger army, right? But it's one
300 Spartans in a totally normal Spartan accent. Mike, you just said the hot gates. We'll use the hot gates. Blimey, we'll use the hot gates.
That's right, Gerard.
It's one of the most famous last stands of all time, and that's why it's famous, is because obviously the 300 Spartans all died at the end of the battle.
Yeah. And as we see in the movie, like in real life, they did have like a couple thousand Greeks helping them too. Like the movie's very much leaning into it was just these 300 badasses. So it's not historically accurate, and neither are maybe the portrayal of the Spartans themselves, you know, and
Sure.
real life they're a lot different than what we see here.
I mean, what were those Greeks' professions, Mike? They were painters, bakers,
sculptors,
yeah,
fucking losers, man. We're warriors
basically.
over here.
And they're like, no, we're free men, but I'm pretty sure in real, like, you know, Sparta, they were like had slaves and stuff too.
Yeah, the Greeks
so
did have slaves. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but Greece, I mean, people kind of idolize or idealize ancient Greece and ancient Rome, right? How often do you think about the
Rome
Roman
idealized
Empire?
Greece, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's do
Yes,
that
they
again.
did.
You know, it was sort of the birthplace of democracy, and that's like a new system of how, you know, we form a civilization, I guess.
And you know
Instead
what?
of
That
monarchy.
phrase in particular, that is the idolization, the birthplace of democracy. People love to
really
say
democracy for, you know, male landowners that were slaves.
The classic flavor.
How it has
throughout
always
history.
been. Yes.
Original. Yeah.
God.
But so this movie has like themes that are interesting, and like I think watching it all these years later, it's gonna be fun to talk about that, because it does always say like, freedom, and then there's a lot of segregation in Spartan society, and like it's kind of doesn't know what it's talking about sometimes, and I found that very apt.
That was
for
my
how I find it.
Yeah, that was sort of my read on it this time, is that I think it's the most overtly fascist piece of mainstream media that I can really think of, that it was such a big hit. Yeah.
I would argue this is a film with no subtext.
Well,
shocker.
Yeah, and I was thinking, is this like, I want it to be like satire, like
Starship
Troopers, but
that's
with
interesting.
Zack Snyder, I'm like, I really don't think he is capable of satire.
Everyone in the government is ugly and they tell you what to do. You should be allowed to be cool and do whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bang your wife
you
and
say
shit,
so.
you know? Yeah.
I mean, this is a civilization where they would, you know, if you were born disfigured or disabled, or you just weren't, you know, they didn't think you're strong enough as a baby, they would literally feed you to the wolves, right?
Eugenics. Yeah.
This is Giga Chad culture.
A Nazi paradise.
Yeah, it's horrible. But the fact that it was so popular, when in hindsight, it's like, this is not good messaging at all. Like,
if you have a single deformity, or if your skin is one shade darker than pale, you are the villain of this film.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's very, I mean, obviously Xerxes is very queer coded character. I mean, he's this you know, giant, hairless, sexual god king.
Baby.
He's kind of giving
cultural
Lord Humongous
context. Yes, very true, Mike.
Yeah,
cultural context. I mean, is it worth saying that like that was the state of the world post 9/11? That like it's just Persia, brown people, like what this all meant. Like it's all so coded that, right?
It's it's like the hordes of Asia are attacking our perfect white men, Greek
fight
soldiers.
Back at any, you know, you have to fight back, and it's like against who and what? What are you talking about?
Because I'm a free man. Yeah, it's actually very alarming.
It's and I kind of see the Spartans as like a crazy cult where they're like, oh, it's our honor to die for our leader and our country, and it's like, obviously with everything going on with the war in Afghanistan and everything, it's like that was very, very thematically relevant at the time. And it was like, so a lot of that is like but I'm fascinated by this movie just as a piece of media for what it sort of reveals about the psyche of the creators, I'll say, whether if that's Zack Snyder or Frank Miller or both.
Kind of a perfect marriage of the two of them, yes.
It's the perfect storm here. No, and I was trying to think of a way to describe the style of this movie and Zack Snyder's style in general, because I really don't like it. And I landed on one word that describes all of it, and that word is gratuitous. Like there's just shit that doesn't need to be there, that's being held on for too long. Like we're doing wheat again. We're doing, like, it's cool the first time you see it, the first time he does the magic trick here. But when you look at his filmography, gratuitous is how I would describe his sensibilities, right?
Yeah.
He's put in everything.
I mean, and what I noticed with this rewatch is that the pacing of this movie is like not great, and there's like there's a lot of extra stuff that I'm like, this is so like uninteresting to me. Like basically, I'm sorry to say, all of Lena Headey's scenes where she's, you know, dealing with the Senate or whatever. I'm just like, can we get back to like the
not
battle of
only
300?
are those scenes disastrous on this rewatch, in my opinion, Jacob, I agree with you, but the extra scenes of her in the prequel sequel film, I am just like, girl, you are wasting my time talking about how you wish Gerard Butler was in this scene with you, but he can't because he's at a meeting.
Yeah.
Girl, get out of here.
Yeah. And
those were kind of the most notable. Yeah, with the prequels, her and David Wenham. It's like, why are you guys even in this movie?
Oh yeah. Well, I described in text to you guys, 300, aka Faramir's big speech. Because like the whole movie is him giving a speech up to the ending about like, we did this shit, now I got a black eye patch and I'm really cool.
His name is Dilius. I believe in Meet the Spartans it is Dildous. I'm sorry, I just had to get that out there.
That's a fun fact.
But if you think about it, the whole movie is sort of framed as a propaganda that he's telling to the troops after.
Oh yes,
right. So he's retelling this story.
Oh yes,
of this noble sacrifice of Leonidas and the brave 300. Right.
Right. So in that sense, it's kind of weirdly absolves itself of being political because it's like, oh, in the universe, it's just a story for the soldiers. Like it's so
right.
Which is Starship Troopers. Yeah, you're right. It's Full Metal Jacket. I mean, it's like these kids who are being indoctrinated to go like, yes, and now we'll go out there and machine gun people. Perfect.
And then you get sick guitars at the end, like hell yeah, dude. Like
yeah. That's the thing is like,
what's the message?
When I watch it, I'm like imagining it as like very dry satire, but it's so over the top in like how it fetishizes the Spartans that I'm like, I really don't think that Zack Snyder thinks it's satire. Like I really think he just thinks there's some cool shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's unintentionally causing us to think deeper, but like, that's not what he's going for at all. It's exactly what you see.
Right, but it's interesting because you can read it as like this satire, and it's like almost like camp because it's like you're getting themes and stuff out of the movie that the director did not intend, but it's like death of the author and stuff. So whatever meaning you take out of a movie is still valid in a way.
It is, but it's what you're saying too about the revealing nature, because I do honestly believe things where it's like, I think this is what Zack Snyder thinks every human being should look like and wants to look like. Like he bleeds through this whole movie.
Yeah. And continue on to his DC run where he's obsessed with this idea of like Superman is a god amongst men and all this stuff.
Batman should kill people,
You can't tell me what to do.
Right. You see it all here, all the hints of what is to come. Yeah. It's like a warning. This movie.
It is. Let's rewind real quick because let's insert some logic behind all this and lay out like the details and stuff, because we're talking about his style. Important to note. Zack Snyder, director of this movie. Like we said, it's an adaptation by Frank Miller. They wrote this film together. This is shot by Larry Fong. Larry Fong, his longtime initial partner. They went to film school together. He shot Dawn of the Dead. He shot most of his notable work, I believe, up until Sucker Punch, and I think that's maybe where they split. But this style, quote unquote, this Snyder style, a lot of it where people are like, he shoots movies that are, just look like no other blockbuster.
Right.
Larry Fong shoots movies that look like no other blockbuster. An important distinction. His current work that we've talked about, where it seems like his camera doesn't work and his depth of field issues and everything going on, that is Zack. Those are Zack issues.
Yeah. The holding too long on slow-mo, like having too much of something, that's Zack. But some of the framing that made this so iconic and like the way they're ramping, that's totally...
There's so many close-ups in this film. This is a film with more close-ups than maybe I've seen in like 10 years. It's incredibly shot in an interesting way. I don't know that it's incredibly shot, but it's very interesting.
No, the sequences that it's known for, I think, hold up as like fascinating pieces of camera work, and that's all Larry Fong. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the way this movie looks a lot, because even when they're like standing in a wheat field and you're like, well, obviously this looks very fake, but it's intentionally fake because it's like very, again, like evoking sort of the comic book with the bright colors and high saturation and everything.
There's clouds in the background that kind of look like almost a watercolor effect. Like it's always this kind of dirt brown.
You
So it's not
think about
trying to be
those
super realistic.
Greek statues of ivory almost, the white, the Acropolis, not even the structures, but the statue of David or something, right? And well, that's not Greek, but you think of old classic Greek statues and the way that the color filtering, that washed out nature you just brought up, Jacob, that how can every human being look essentially white or gray versus a red sky versus like gray stone around them, and they're kicking a Persian guy into a hole that like looks like hell. Like it's all dream imagery. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of blending of these fantasy aspects where you have like, oh, this guy has like a goat's head and this guy has like lobster hands or for some reason.
Right. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a little Mad Maxy. Like, what is that guy about? We're not going to tell you.
Right.
So.
And like Xerxes again is like inexplicably like this 9-foot tall god king guy, but when you see him, you're like, oh yeah, that is a god king. He's like 3 feet taller than Leonidas.
Right.
And he has a voice that's like this. I mean, he's like he's otherworldly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get his transformation in the prequel. Like you see his origin. I'm like, this is weird.
That was so funny to me.
But it's Furiosa who makes him do that, Mike. Like that movie again is so Mad Maxy when I watched it. It's crazy.
It's pretty wild. But you have these fantasy element stuff, and it's like I want to take a look at the graphic novel just to see how much of an influence it really had. Like I can't believe I haven't like even flipped through it or just kind of scrolled at the panels because I am curious, like how many famous frames from this movie, like the shield with the arrows in it. Like there's so many like iconic, poses and stuff. And they did
the
like
sort
a
of
statue.
dust with the dancing priestess girl. I have seen that image. I know that is directly.
And that was like shot underwater. It's like, okay, that's cool.
I would like to see that.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like Watchmen, watching the movie Watchmen, I do know, because I've read Watchmen, I own a copy on my bookshelf back here. And so I know like when they're using certain frames, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the frame where Dr. Manhattan explodes or whatever. But this, so I would like to just get the source material just to compare.
I guess again, I don't need to support either of these two guys anymore.
No.
I already have
a scan somewhere, like but it would be intriguing to see that. I guess I could have done my due diligence, but
we're very pro comics lately on this podcast. I do like that.
The Mad Max comics were very good and interesting. So and
and Rise of an Empire was also based on Xerxes by Frank Miller, which was a prequel comic, I believe.
Oh,
prequel graphic novel.
I assume that is extremely racist. Oh my god!
I assume it is. Yeah.
Wild.
I'm pretty sure when this movie came out, Iran, which is modern day Persia, obviously, did have like a big problem with this movie because they're like, this is an anti-Persian movie.
The thing that got Frank Miller kicked out of the comic books world, I believe it's called Redeemer. He wrote a comic book about a white guy who wanted to restart the Crusades after 9/11 and just went to Iran and started shooting brown people in the head. And people were like, well, this was it for you, Frank Miller. We had a great run with you, so goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, Islamophobia and stuff post 9/11 in America, obviously. It was a very, high tension time.
Well, I mentioned earlier, this kind of has that energy of like everything's fucking badass early 2000s. It like Call of Duty is the same thing. It was just terrorists, just nondescript brown people. Like it was the whole fucking thing post 9/11, and this is like dead center of it.
Let's talk a little bit about the cast. Not yet the brown people. We'll talk about the lead white guy first. Like I joked. Not a Greek. We've got Gerard Butler here, who was primarily known at this point for doing a Beowulf adaptation for BBC that was sort of like barbaric and cool, and he kind of just fit the bill for this, and he was in good shape and was kind of a burgeoning action star.
Yeah. I think he is sort of the perfect guy for this role. Like he has the perfect look.
He's very intense. He seems to just buy into everything he's saying. So I can't imagine anybody else in the performance, Jacob.
Yeah, I don't think he's a great actor in general. He kind of has, a type that he can play. And he's in a lot of like, he'll play like a dirty cop or like a guy who has to like,
Well, that's
white
now that he's
trash.
turning into a gargoyle. Back when he was the most handsome
Yeah.
human being who ever existed, he kind of transitioned from this not really into an action career as much as a rom-com career, right?
Yeah,
He did have some rom-coms, like you said. He had he was in Phantom of the Opera, Joel Schumacher's Phantom of the Opera. And whether he can sing or not is another question, but
I can't imagine. I've not seen that movie. I would love to.
I have.
Oh, okay.
My brother
Wow.
loves that movie because he loves Phantom of the Opera, and that's Emmy Rossum from whatever that show that she's in.
Shameless.
Shameless. Yeah, so she's the star of that.
Patrick Wilson, maybe Patrick Wilson's first movie. Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's great in this role. Like again, he is buying in.
He's iconic.
Yeah, and again, there's so many like poses. We breaks the shit off of his shield with the spear, and it's like sick, right? Like he's
I mean, he has all the iconic lines, right? Then we shall dine in hell.
Yep.
We shall fight in the shade.
Fight in the shade.
Our arrows will block out the sun.
The body is real, or is that CGI enhanced?
I believe.
I don't know. I think it's real. It's probably enhanced by just like
the contrast ratio is just
or something. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say, he was enhancing himself a little bit.
Well,
probably.
Yeah, I'm sure that was part of it. I think that's all, movie. I mean, if you're not in a competition like sports, then I think it's okay to.
This maybe kicked off that trend, though, potentially.
Maybe, yeah. It really fetishized like be muscly, ripped person, be that, or you're nothing.
Yeah,
like it kind of put that out there, right? Like you got to be ripped, right, for the movies and.
Right, and just the movie saying is like this is the idealized form of as a man. Like
sorry, haters.
Like
this is peak male performance. Yeah.
And if you haven't seen Zack Snyder, he is a guy who does, and we should give him credit at probably his mid-50s now. A guy who still looks like he could do this stuff. Who does push-ups in between takes. Who has a fucking six-pack. Like that's impressive.
Yeah.
And again, the weird thing with Zack Snyder to me is that, like I said, this movie is fascist, which I think it is. It's fascist coded, but Zack Snyder, like politically, he's like a standard Democrat, like a liberal Democrat. And I just think he fetishizes the aesthetics of fascism without even fully realizing it.
Right.
Because he's just kind of a himbo. I would classify him as a himbo.
Fair. Yeah, I would give him that. I think it was interesting looking back at this, and there's a lot of other like big name actors in his crew that we'll talk about, but people aren't as ripped as I remembered them being. They're in very good shape, but it's not the way I remember it because of how jacked people have gotten in Hollywood nowadays.
That's society changing, Mike. You're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Superheroes today, like you see Jason Momoa as Aquaman, you're like, holy shit, that guy is like, insanely ripped. So compare that to 300. It's like, it's not even.
But it used to be.
Ballpark.
It would be like you would watch these movies where the premise of the movie was like, "Yo, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a freak. Like, look at what a freak he looks like. Like Sly Stallone is a freak." Die Hard, Bruce Willis wasn't going out there going like, "And I put on 10 kilograms on my arms. My six packs look." Like, I truly believe it really wasn't until this where people were like, right, even if you're a nobody actor in Hollywood, you should look like an A-list star. And it's like, you should?
That's the way it is now. Like, I saw a picture of like this actor getting ready for the new Jurassic World movie by working out. It's like, you don't need to be in super good, like, Jeff Goldblum was not super ripped.
To be a dinosaur scientist, like that's what you'll be. If you're not like a gun runner, why would you look like that?
Yeah, Laura Dern, we're just normal people. Like, it's fine.
But I think, with The Rock,
so crazy.
With these different superhero actors that have had to get in really good shape, like
Kumail Nanjiani, for God's sake.
Once again, a normal nerdy guy.
We saw this whole crew. If they're panning across, and I'm seeing these Greek freaks, and they're all just greased up and looking good, and next to them was fucking Praetorian Jack, a guy who had that body type. I'd still think that motherfucker was sexy as hell if he was still bringing that energy, guys. That's all I'm saying. So
right.
I mean, a lot of people like the dad bod look, right?
I was gonna say than these guys, but dad bod's in now.
You're right.
Like,
so I think
the fetishization of like the super jacked, muscly guy is more for guys, and not even like gay guys, but just straight guys who idealize that look, that would wish they looked like
that's
that.
our
just
propaganda.
Body dysmorphia.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
our body dysmorphia, 100%.
Right, but it's not even to attract the opposite sex.
No. It's so other
weird.
guys will walk up and be like, "Man, you look great," and it's like, "Are you into me?" And it's like, "No, I'm not. I just think you look great. I just want to be you,
yeah, bro.
How much you lift, brother? Yeah, it's
Predator meme, baby.
Yep. So that's the what a legacy of this movie. But who are some of these other actors who, like, I forgot Michael Fassbender was in this.
We've got Fassbender, first starring role, supposedly.
It's kind of a crazy cast for like this kind of movie because it so many side characters that are like, oh, it's Lena Headey from Game of Thrones, pre Game of Thrones, obviously Cersei, Queen Cersei.
Again, not doing her best work. In that sequel, when Lena Headey has to stand in the same spot where Gerard Butler was and basically say, like, don't they know this is Sparta? And she kind of like wistfully says the line and sort of like looks off with like a little grin. You're like, this is horrible.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we do need her in this movie because if she wasn't, there would be literally no female characters in the entire movie, basically. Which the prequel does improve by having 2 female characters.
That's right. A battle witch. Up.
Yeah.
Yes, a battle mage. Yeah.
Michael Fassbender.
Yes.
Yeah. David Wenham, like we mentioned.
Hair. Yeah.
Those are the main 2 that really are like featured. That I was like, dang, you got
Dominic West. He's the villain in this movie. He's someone who every time I see him, I read later that was Dominic West, and I go, I guess I'll just never know what that guy looks like or commit it to memory.
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say
in the city.
The real creepy guy.
Which again, that shows up a lot in Zack Snyder's works, man.
Yeah, it's just the raping of a wife. Like,
how can I create
gratuitous?
Rape or the threat of rape.
Makes a list,
But Dominic West, what I would say about him is that he was in the show called The Wire, one of my favorite shows of all time.
He's in The Wire?
He's in The Wire. He plays Detective Jimmy McNulty, who's like just this really funny cop detective character that's like he's just kind of a scoundrel with a heart of gold.
Oh, wow.
But, Mike has his Gattaca rule where anyone in Gattaca gets a pass for life. For me, it's anyone in the cast of The Wire. I have to always shout out that they were in The Wire and then they get a pass for life for that. So,
right. That's great. No, I know you love The Wire. And like when I watch Prometheus,
one of the great
and Michael Fassbender, it's like, you were that jacked back then? Like, wait a minute. Like, that's not your body type.
Magneto had a body on him. Damn.
He was the cartoon version.
Yeah.
Daddy
Michael
Nito.
Fassbender, it's a weird role for him because he's playing like the young kid, or not a kid, but like the young guy ready to prove himself kind of thing. And it's just like,
my precocious son.
Yeah.
Oh, how old are you?
Friend, his roommate.
Yeah.
Right.
Is your dad Charlton Heston in a Planet of the Apes film? You look so old.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing is like Michael Fassbender, he broke out. He was kind of older when he sort of broke out as a star, and I sort of associate him with his older look. So to see him in this where he still looks kind of old for the role that he's playing, but it's just a weird role. What would
you say? Shame? Was Shame his big movie?
Maybe, yeah.
Or the Hunger Strike one? What was the Hunger Strike one?
Oh, Hunger, I believe it was called. Yeah,
Hunger.
both directed by Steve McQueen, not the actor Steve McQueen, of course.
I guess maybe Hunger was his breakout.
Yeah, Hunger was before Shame, and that's a really good movie actually. But
maybe Magneto was his breakout. We all just agreed at one point he was like a leading A-list star. It's kind of the Tom Hardy thing where you're like, but of what and how did you end up?
Well, he does a lot of like I would say more prestige type pictures, but I would say definitely X-Men was his mainstream breakout.
Right, and like he survived an Assassin's Creed movie.
He survived.
That's right.
And like it's like Jake Gyllenhaal doing Prince of Persia. Speaking of Persia, like he survived that too. Well,
for me, it's like
the Snowman.
Oscar Isaac, who's I always think is a good actor, but has picked some really bad like mainstream projects to do, or just gotten really unlucky, like X-Men Apocalypse. Oh, Oscar Isaac, why are you doing that? Like, so he's never really had the role. Maybe
Michael Fassbender, why are you doing that?
Yeah. Jennifer Lawrence, why are you doing that? Yeah, we could go through the whole cast, but yeah, Michael Fassbender. He's always. I mean, I always kind of like him in most stuff.
He gets the good line in this. He literally does the laugh, and they say what, and he says, "Fight in the shade. Why'd you have to say it?" It's great. It's like that's fun. He does the big jump. That's cool.
He gets like that whole sequence with his buddy, like where they do the back-to-back fighting thing, and it's cool choreography where they block for each other, and it's like that's a cool sequence. It's like not plot relevant, but it's sick as hell. You know, I mean, till the end.
Well, if we went through this movie beat by beat, I would argue, Mike, you would say most things that happen in it aren't plot relevant. They just kind of like are little scenes that occur.
Well, that's what kind of surprised me on this rewatch is that how much it cuts away from the battle to like show other stuff. I'm like, that's why I thought the pacing was so weird, where it's like keeps cutting back to Queen Gorgo.
The Lena Headey of it all, Jacob, it reminds me of the worst episodes of Game of Thrones, where you're like, no, just like stay on the stuff. Yes, it's like, stop. I understand you feel like you have this ensemble you have to honor, but like just one of the episodes can just stick with the battle we're in. And they're like, no, but what about the boy in the wheelchair?
Right. And again, this is right before Game of Thrones started, so it's kind of like... this was, I guess, her big break. I remember from, of course, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, the Terminator show, where she played Sarah Connor. Big fan of that show, and Summer Glau was the Terminator.
Summer Glau.
Wow.
Take me back.
Is that Firefly? Or am I wrong?
Yes, it is. You're 100% right.
Okay, she did Firefly. It was coming off Firefly and did Sarah Connor Chronicles. I'm like, this girl is like.
Now I would assume she's dead.
I don't think she's dead, but her career maybe didn't go how I thought it was going to go because she was just this badass.
Oh, if you told 2005 Colin Brooks that she wasn't going to be a star in the future, I would not have believed you.
Wouldn't believe you. But yeah, that stuff is really pretty slow. And again, I think it's not in good taste, some of it. Like, again, I thought the word gratuitous, even when Leonidas and Lena Headey are having they're making love, right? But it's like you literally faded to black before they start and then fade up for this whole thing that's like, yeah, dude, like, check it out, guys. And it's like, it just felt kind of gross. Like, you could have just faded out.
I thought that until the prequel literally opened with a topless woman, and then I was like, "Oh, this is really gross and gratuitous."
And then there's a very interesting fight sex scene. Not interesting, but it exists. And it's like,
I would argue interesting.
I would argue it's very interesting.
Bold choices.
The thing with the Lena Headey stuff, it's like, yes, Zack Snyder is like obsessed with showing like sexual assault as like a means of conflict. It's like,
violence towards
this female character to have some sort of conflict in her life. I guess she's going to get raped, and then
that motivates our male character to be a hero because that's a bad guy.
And the one time he wrote an original movie, it was about 5 girls who experienced that, called Sucker Punch. Please go ahead, Jacob.
He's obsessed with that, but I mean, he does always, generally, from my knowledge, show basically that character getting their comeuppance because obviously she kills him in the end, and that's kind of like. She says his line back to him, like, I am, this will not be, you will not enjoy this.
Yeah. Fast. Yeah.
It's again, it's one of I'm reminded of like when somebody interviewed Nicolas Cage and was like, a lot of your movies have like dogs in them. What do you think about that? And he was like, no, they don't. And then like, they were like, yes, they do. And they listed off all these movies. It's like, weird. I don't know. We're like, if you told Zach, like, well, what do you think about the fact that every one of your female protagonists gets raped and then fights back and kills the guy at the end? I think he'd say like, well, yeah, that's cool.
I didn't notice that.
Like, what? Yeah, like, what do you mean? Like, it's like he's not Jacob. He's not connecting the dots like you keep saying. Like, that doesn't. That's not how his brain is working.
No, it's like shortcut to create villain for him. It's like and does the guy getting his comeuppance justify the existence of that threat? And I don't know if it's in the graphic novel, but in a lot of his movies, it's like, does this need to be here, Zach? Is there another way? And he just doesn't have one.
That's why I think, like, especially like with female characters, he's like, well, what other conflict could a woman have in her life? Like, that's the only thing The only
thing a man has is his big muscles in his body. So the only thing a woman has is her body to keep pure and safe. Yes, I'll go work out now that I've put those dots, those thoughts in my mind together. You're like,
wild.
And even this movie, like, they keep talking, like, they do mention like a few times, like, oh, Spartan women, they're like tougher than the men of other
And do
Greek
you know why?
states.
Because we gave birth to Spartans.
Right.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
again not a ton of agency, but oh God,
Right.
you're saying something.
At
Yeah.
least in the prequel, she does get like her little fight scenes at the end, right, where she's killing
Yeah.
dudes.
Which I would have
She doesn't
had to
even get
assume
that.
was just contractual of her, like, well, I'm coming back to this. Like, I
Yeah, let
want to
me
be
do
cool.
some fighting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being on the green screen with 2 other people was pretty boring, you know, for 300 shoot.
I have to go to
Right.
the well and basically say the 300 line. Why? And I have to tell them that Gerard Butler's busy. He's too busy to be in this, but I'm not. Oh my God.
He's
Yeah.
literally climbing the mountain to talk to the very ugly, mean guys who won't let him do
Yeah,
his war.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So silly.
And again,
But-
the Persians in this movie, they're all freaks and monsters and,
Mhm.
disfigured people against these perfect Spartan bodies. It's
Yeah.
just like there is no subtext. Like the subtext is the text of this movie.
Even when they turn away, I can't remember his name, the hunchback guy, you know? And he's like,
right,
look,
Ephialtes, which is the whole
Ephialtes. That's
the weakness of the Spartans is that they deny this guy who all he wanted to do was be a Spartan with them, and they're like, sorry, you're too like fucked up looking.
I could help. You would just have to bend one little practice that you guys have about your Nazism, about how I don't fit in how I look.
Right.
They're like, can't help you, dog. Get
Yeah,
the
really
fuck out of
is
here.
fascism you guys are doing. Can I join? They're like, no, you're ugly.
Yeah.
I want to help you kill freaks like me. Sorry, can't. No, you gotta
Which,
go.
Again, to talk about Mad Max, it's so striking that George Miller often, will feature disfigured or disabled, differently abled looking people in his movies, and to contrast that with how this movie treats them, it's like insane.
And it's again, it's their undoing, but the movie doesn't comment on it in that way. They just paint him to be the betrayer. You're the betrayer, right? And that doesn't, they never have that moment of realization, like, damn, maybe we shouldn't have told him to go away.
I mean, again, if there is a Starship Trooper thing going on, the beauty of George Miller worlds are that, like, it's broken. He's showing how broken people survive through that. And if you have physical deformities, why couldn't you? Whereas maybe what Zach's commenting is like, no, this is the real world. You have to be beautiful to survive. But again, you have no indication that there is any level of irony involved in his thought process.
There's no self-awareness, which is what's so interesting with the Ephialtes sort of subplot. It's like there could have been real, like he could have like examined that more, but instead they're just like, oh yeah, he betrayed the Spartans.
I've become a bad guy.
And when Xerxes is like, yo, dude, I accept you. I'm like, yeah, join Xerxes. Fuck the Spartans, dude.
He's sounding pretty good. He keeps talking about how he just wants to unify the world and these fucking Nazis are against him. I'm like, right, I guess.
Right. He'll give me a uniform? Sick.
Yeah.
It's almost like they
seems
have
like the
to
thing you guys
show-
don't like about him is that he's black. But he's not, I guess. I mean, we should
gold.
say he is played by
Rodrigo Santoro.
Rodrigo Santorum, yes. Probably the biggest role he's most known for is for playing Rodriguez. What is that character's name on Westworld, Jacob? I can't even remember now.
I don't know.
Hector Escatone.
Oh, Hector. Hector.
Yeah.
Sure, Hector. Absolutely.
And he was in Lost, I guess, but more like background. Like
so a Latino actor. Worth
Playing a
pointing out.
person.
Yeah. And again, very like LGBT coded, very other coded, which is the Persians. Like they're the other. They're all strange and freaks and stuff, and we're the perfect society.
They have like weird open relationships and shit, and have sex and are weird,
Yeah.
deviants.
Gross. You should only have sex with your wife while you're both working out.
That's right.
That's what you think?
Yeah. And again, they almost have to play up like, oh, but you don't understand. They're doing all these atrocities to the Greeks and everything, and they have slaves and stuff. So they really kind of punch that like, you don't understand. We're free men. We don't have slaves.
Right.
Except again, the Greeks like did have slaves, right?
The actual history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think people got the wrong idea about Spartan culture from this because they were like, yeah, dude, they were like rebelling. It's like they weren't perfect. And like they literally in this movie say like, and then the 10-year-olds were made to murder each other, and the ones that survived kept going. You know.
Oh,
No,
real
it's like
quick,
a militaristic. Yeah. Go
it
ahead.
is. It's like a young cult of shaved head sci-fi war boys. I mean, they are
Yeah.
war boys.
Yeah,
You could
yeah,
argue.
100%.
Trained from birth to become a warrior. That's your only profession is to do war.
And you want to die
s-
historic on the Fury Road, yeah.
Yeah.
on the hot box or whatever it was called, the hot rocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
The hot gates. Thank you. I just wanted to point out, Mike, real quick, that the young shaved head early version of Leonidas in that whole storytelling scene, the wolf, all that stuff. I love that whole sequence, by the way, the narration, all of it. That is Eli Snyder. That is Zack Snyder's oldest son, and his first acting credit as young Leonidas.
With whom I have no quarrel. I guess he's doing some directing now. Yeah, and I guess Zach was like, he's a way better filmmaker than I ever was. So I'm like, maybe you are, Zach.
Is he? Okay.
I don't know. I've never seen any of his stuff, but again,
I can't imagine what it's like if he's learned at the foot of his master, young Padawan Snyder. I don't know.
Rebellious enough, he's probably very good.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, shout out. That's a cool fun fact. Yeah.
Rebel Moon.
But yeah, the Spartans, even when the other Greeks, like the Athenians or whatever, join up and they're like, oh, what's your profession? Oh, I'm a potter. I'm a sculptor. Psh,
Spartans?
I guess those are important.
What is our profession?
Yeah. Oh, man. And they're in a narration like, brave amateurs, they serve their purpose.
Yes.
And, just so... We've also said, just real quick, the cultural impact of this movie in particular, but I just want to say the cultural impact that this brought to the Greek myth of Spartans, where Jacob, you're talking about that History Channel show, and like Mike, you guys saying you watched it too. I would watch one of those shows where it was imaginary warriors, where it was, what if a samurai faced off against, and they would always say, a Spartan warrior, and they would always go, well, Spartan warrior could defeat anybody. And then, is it even worth pointing out, what is the name of Master Chief's armor?
Oh, Spartan. Yeah. Well, they're Spartans.
He's a Spartan warrior. They're the Spartan program, right? The whole, I mean, it's the Spartans in general, how they have, like, how our society just, like, loves the idea of a perfect warrior. I've never understood that.
Right.
Yeah.
And warriors have been aggrandized like since the earliest of time, but something about the Spartan, at least in our generation, is
the perfect
modern
killing
militaries.
Machine.
They're like, they'll have like the helmet as like an insignia for things.
Yes.
And stuff because they just idealize them so much.
You're a Marine, you get a tattoo of a Spartan helmet. You're right, or a Spartan spear, or a shield, or the phalanx, and you say like, well, I was part of so and so corps, the Spartans.
Right.
You go, oh.
But with that show where it's like a samurai versus a Spartan warrior. I always thought it was weird because, like, the Spartan isn't the strength of the Spartans is that they work together,
the numbers
so well, and they have like the group tactics with their shields.
The shield is
like,
unbreakable.
Exactly.
I think a samurai would kill
a ninja, anybody, a pirate. I mean, you'd have a gun and you would shoot him.
Deadliest Warrior is the show you're thinking of.
Deadliest Warrior.
And classic.
Fun fact,
classic.
I used to intern at a post house in Burbank, and I would be duping the tapes for Deadliest Warrior for them and getting to see episodes early.
Way. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. This week it's a Viking versus a knight in armor.
The thing about the Viking is, look at his stats. I mean, a Viking can bench press 600 pounds, and you'd look at that and you'd be like, what are they measuring this on?
Right.
And now we know Vikings were not as big as we thought. And like all this stuff, right? It's like, anyway, fun cons, but that's when the History
But again, that channel has just turned into, History Channel in general has just turned into people being like, aliens could exist.
Right. For a while, it was like, oh, we're only going to do shows about Nazis and World War II. And now it's like, ancient aliens.
That was our childhood, was the Nazi stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
But yeah, you had to get that sensationalism going, ratings, and they drew on the Spartans for that idea too.
Yeah.
To be fair, shield or spear is and shield is very good combo for Solo, I guess. You have range and protection. Like, it's a pretty big
so
shield.
cool. And being in just the thong and having a cape mic and knowing that you could kill anything from basically 2 feet away from you is awesome.
The aesthetics are cool. Like, Zack Snyder and the team got that right. You know, the swords have a cool shape. The helmets are a great design. He gets his eye cut.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's like, it's cool.
The horsehair in the special helmet that Gerard Butler has as the
Yep.
king is so fine and just fucking awesome looking. I love it, dude.
Yeah,
And I think
shout
the
out to
spear,
costume.
and the short sword combo is so good because you got the spear
Gladius,
when you need
I
it. You
think
got
is
the
what they
short,
call
the
those.
gladius when you're up close
Yep.
and you need something like that. And yeah, you can't beat it. Can't beat it.
Yep. And that's what Deadliest Warrior had every time. So, like, you know, that kind of stuff is cool. And then to see them in action, there's cool sequences in this. That's the strength of this movie, is those action scenes where they're ramping the camera and there's sick choreography. You know, that's what we're
And
here
they're
for.
blocking
That's,
shit and fucking
Yeah, and Zack Snyder, obviously, his famous style of having the slow-mo and really it's the slow to fast to slow to fast again, and the choreography that really makes it. And now it's become so like memed because he has overused it. But in this movie, it really was sort of like a new thing, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool.
The slow-mo kick in this is equivalent to the bullet dodging in the Matrix, Jacob. I mean, you and I played an entire Assassin's Creed video game where one of the buttons you can hold down is a charged up kick that basically is this kick in this movie, right?
Right.
And that's this is Sparta, famous scene, and then that's like an impactful moment. Like, okay, shit, like it sticks with you. Good imagery, good job. But then
it's
the
so
messaging
quotable
is
again. It's great. Yeah.
Very quotable. I think it's kind of fucked up that he killed that messenger because he's kind of going against the sort of rules of war where you don't.
They lay
kill a
that out. They're
messenger.
like, you cannot do this. That breaks the rules of combat. And they give some bullshit excuse about how
You don't
in
understand,
Sparta,
he was really
everyone's
angry.
different. Yes, yeah, exactly.
We're supposed to be cheering that they broke the Geneva Conventions. You know, it's
Right.
like, no, I don't like it.
Yeah.
So conflicting is, I think, how this movie feels. Because there's cool stuff, and some of the slow motion outside of the fighting was like, this is a little bit much. This rhinoceros is very slow. Like, again, like,
oh yeah,
we're kind of overexposed to some of the slow mo in this, but there are iconic scenes in it. But you can tell it's like, oh, this is heavy, and he's going to continue to be heavy going forward with this. You know. Especially when Larry Fong leaves. It's like,
can I ask for 2 seconds in the sequel, who is our leader white guy of that film? He's some sort of actual Greek or Athenian who
Themistocles. Yeah.
Oh,
He was an Athenian guy.
Who is the actor though?
I don't know the actor's name.
Yeah, I could not recognize
really
that.
Sullivan
a guy.
Stapleton.
Sullivan Stapleton.
What a name that is.
Yeah.
And of course I was Themistocles.
But that is also based on history where Themistocles, although he didn't kill King Darius in real life, who was Xerxes' father, obviously these are all based on real people, but some of the details are definitely made up. But
Fiction,
Themistocles was an Athenian warrior. And I actually
and it haunted him for the rest of his days that he didn't take that second shot to kill the Persian prince Xerxes. Oh my god!
Yeah, like even Artemisia, the Eva Green role, is a real person. So
shut up.
Yeah,
really.
But a lot of the detail, like I don't think she was actually like going out there like fucking murdering people and stuff.
But
she was like a leader. Yeah.
You don't think she was Xerxes'
She wasn't having a sex fight
stepsister, who was trained to be the ultimate assassin, who fights with sex?
I believe she was a Greek that then went to Persia and like fought for Xerxes, but she wasn't. Again, her backstory in that movie is that she was like kidnapped and raped and stuff by Greeks, and that's why she hates the Greeks, right? Because she was just kept as like a sex slave. That's not true. For the real music.
Co-written by Zack Snyder.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
So again, how can we make her like? Why would she hate the Greeks? Oh, maybe they, kept her as a sex slave. Sure.
God, now I'm nervous. What do you think happens to one of those female owls in that movie?
Oh man, his
I don't
happy
know.
feet.
He attacked our egg hatchery, and he, of course, had his way with me. Who did? What are you talking about?
Oh no, yeah.
But the prequel is interesting because I don't know if it's a better movie than 300, but there are certain things that I liked better about it. But again, by the end of it, I was like, I'm kind of bored. This is kind of dragging.
The visuals are cranked up 200%, and I think it has. I don't know that it has more interesting performances as much as I just think like Eva Green is so magnetic. You can't take your eyes off of her. Yes, it's
the main guy is like not that interesting. Like he's no Jerry Butler, but Eva Green carries
why you watch it.
Yes, halfway through the main guy, I was like, "Is this Norman Reedus?" Like I was like zeroing in on that. I was like, he seems bored to be in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's it's just more 300, like Furiosa kind of. It's like, you like this shit? You like slow motion blood? Right. Sick, we got that for you, you know?
I was going to argue, I don't know, are the fight scenes in that movie better than in 300, though? Because they have some crazier fight scenes, maybe some better, like, choreography stuff. The blood is very, like, stylized, of course.
Well, I do think budget-wise it looks cheaper. And let's say the first film, a $60 million budget, it grossed almost $500 million, which is why we get this sequel, which is why we get Meet the Spartans, which is why we get Greek films like The Immortals eventually, that Henry Cavill film, where I'm sure, you know, the pitch was, it'll be like 300.
And now we have Rome, we got Gladiator 2, a lot of sword and sandals coming back, you know, so it still has a legacy.
But
the second one
Rise
is more
of Empire,
boring.
Yeah,
but
it is boring. Like there was like 45 minutes left, and I'm like, this is really starting to drag. Like
it has to end.
This isn't over yet.
It has to be over.
It's like a bottle episode because like we're on our boat and then we fight and then we go back to our boat and then we fight and then we go back to our boat and that happens like 6 times. It's like just finish it.
And it opens so uncomfortable too, Mike, because you have Xerxes cutting off the head of our hero from the first film, and you're like, well, I don't like that. And then
walking on a still image, like it looks like a JPEG that the horse is riding over. It's like not 3D.
Yeah. But I'll say what I liked about it is that number one, so the main guy, he's not like that interesting. And again, his speeches are like just pale imitations of Gerard Butler speeches in 300. And they're not
basically every line is, we should do what Leonidas would do. Will you rally with me, men? Let's go. Yeah.
But I do like when he first goes to Sparta and he like talks to David Wenham and he's like, basically he's like, as an outsider saying like, oh yeah, the Spartans are kind of fucking crazy. Because they're like, oh yeah, they're training. It would be an honor for them to die by their king. And he's like, wouldn't it be better for them to live by their king or something? So I kind of like that they're sort of examining the Spartans and being like, maybe they're not the perfect society, but it's really not that. They don't go into it that deeply. And then I do like the boat stuff is like, okay, I guess.
It looks good.
Yeah.
It gives us a blue and red, you know, obviously, literally. Like, they're cool companions, I guess, in that way.
Yeah. You get a lot. There's so many ships at one point that I'm like,
Again, there's the famous sex fight scene where he has sex with Artemisia, but also, like, she's trying to get him to join, and he's like, no, but I will have sex with you.
But we will battle. Jacob, you started this. You told me the other night that you'd watched it, and I said I remember 2 things about seeing this movie. And I did not see it in theaters. I rented it way after the fact. I don't think anybody knew this was in theaters. This was a very this was a long app. It just didn't cash in. Yes,
this should have come out in 2007.
Again, it's the Furiosa of 300.
Yes. Wow. But the 2 things I said to you was, wow, I can't wait to talk about it. I remember the Xerxes birth scene of him walking out of the water. And then I remember what I said to you was battle sex. And you laughed and said, oh, yeah.
Well, that's the other thing is like, Xerxes was just a normal looking guy with hair and he was just normal sized.
And he found a cave full of mystics and sorcerers. We all know how the story goes.
Yeah, he walked into a puddle and came out and he was a god king.
He maybe grew 8 feet, like you said. Like he maybe got bigger because of that water too. I don't know.
Oh, he definitely did.
They definitely go out of their way to be like, and in the cave were all these freaks, and he didn't even look at them. He just
they were gross.
The water. Yeah, it's like, come on.
Yeah,
the greatest line
his
in
little
that movie,
tush is out.
Oh yeah, he gets his humongous his little Lord Humongous, cosplay going in that one.
He walks out of there with the full piercings. Yeah, he gets dolled up. Yeah.
Yep. But so fascinating, like Furiosa. It's an interesting world building exercise, I guess.
Yeah.
But the one line that sticks out to me is, "I hope you fight better than you fuck."
Right.
Hell yeah. Dude.
Yeah, I just
That's
like how
great.
he's like, well, obviously this lady's evil, but like I'm not gonna not have
But
sex
look,
with her.
hey, I'm in a Zack Snyder movie. We both look incredible. What? We're not gonna have sex with each other?
And he just
And
goes
they had
back to
some
his boys and is
chemistry.
like, "We're not gonna surrender." It's like, did he do anything else?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that.
Don't worry
Rebel
about that.
Rebel Moon director's cut. You've got to figure has a battle sex scene, right? I mean that movie is almost sexless,
Yeah.
which is so unlike Zack.
Well,
Right.
Yeah. We do get a tempted essay, to create sympathy.
Yeah.
Well,
But
we do, of course, yeah.
Gunnar just doesn't have charisma. Sorry.
Yeah, Gooner, the
Gooner.
number one
Battle
Gooner, he cannot
Too
get
busy
it going,
gooning.
unfortunately. Yeah.
No.
But Rise of an Empire, even the ending scene when they have their final confrontation, there's a lot of chemistry between them, and it's like I was like, are they
Yeah.
gonna kiss or are they gonna like
Yeah.
kill each other right now?
It's really in that last scene. I was like, I hope she kills him. I was like, I hope she gets away. She's my
Yeah.
favorite character.
No,
It
for
was
sure.
what a-
She's carrying that whole movie to me.
Absolutely. I mean, wasn't
Um,
she the villain in Power Rangers too?
Was she?
No, that's Elizabeth Banks. She's the
Oh, that's
James
Elizabeth
Bond
Banks, that's
girl.
right.
In the
She was
modern
in, yeah,
ones,
Casino Royale.
she was a James Bond
She's
girl.
basically and he falls in love with her and basically gets him to like quit his job as James Bond. And so yeah, and I
He was
believe
on his
it because I
cuck
would
for
too.
4 movies because he has one bad date with this beautiful woman, which
Yeah.
I understand. If Eva Green ever
Oh,
walked into
absolutely.
my life, I would be like, absolutely.
Mhm.
And
Whatever you
shout out,
want.
I was a huge Penny Dreadful fan, as was
Mm.
my dad and brother who got us all into that. So we love that show and her.
Nice.
And the other thing worth mentioning with Rise of the Empire is that it sort of redeems the Ephialtes plot line where he's like, oh, I
Yeah.
regretted doing that, and I feel bad that I did that now.
It's like,
But
no.
well, you
Even that,
should.
I was like, what are you doing in this?
Yeah.
Oh,
But then they
man.
use him at the end where he sort of redeems himself because he gets Xerxes, or he gets
a trick.
Artemisia to like fall into their trap at the end.
Right.
And then
Right.
Queen Gorgo shows up with the Spartan Navy, I guess, and there you go.
Yep. It
Um,
is funny how it is the same movie, basically. It's like we open
It
with
really
the
is.
narration,
Oh,
and then
100%.
we end with the narrator leading a troop,
The same exact framing structure. It even
Mhm.
has some of the beats where it's like, oh, 300 had a father and a son, and the son dies.
Yeah. Oh,
This movie has a father and a son, but the father
it has
dies.
Skins. It is Skins
Mm.
kid, Jacob. I was shocked
Oh,
to
Jack
see that
O'Connell,
actor.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That's where I'd
Um,
seen him.
Jack O'Connell. Yeah, he
I
did
just
that
want to be
movie
a Spartan, Dad,
Unbroken.
but we're not Spartans, are we?
We're
You don't sit at the
Athenians,
table.
but we're still
Yeah.
kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all right. It's like the premise of this movie is like
Yeah.
we're not as
We're not
good, but we're trying.
We're not Leonidas, but we're
Yes.
doing our best.
Like, okay, why did you make a movie about that subject? That seems scraping the barrel.
We get
Yeah.
our Acadian beard friend in this too, right? The guy who was helping
Right.
Leonidas kind of bounces back and
Daxos,
forth.
I think.
Yeah.
I love that guy. Whoever that actor is, he's got a great look.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
He's one of the most memorable side characters.
When he dies at the end and pulls himself on the spear and then hacks that guy, that's awesome.
Well, and then the father
Yeah.
did that in 300.
Right. No, I'm mixing up those guys.
Oh.
That's what I'm thinking of. That's my favorite.
Right.
The guy that they
Yeah.
called a pussy, basically, who has a little beard,
Yes.
the Acadian guy. He's in the
Yeah.
other one. But the dad, that was a sick moment. Like, that's...
Yeah.
That doesn't predate Lord of the Rings, because that one Uruk-hai does that to
Right.
Aragorn.
Right.
But anyway, sick moment.
Yeah.
Rise of an Empire.
Um,
I'm not upset that I watched it. It's
Neither am I,
interesting.
actually. And it was easy.
No.
Hulu has the first one. Netflix has the second one. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's get your ducks in a row, distributors.
Yeah, and I do think it was okay, and I guess some of the fight scenes I just liked them maybe more than 300, but 300 has the whole mythological aspect of like the 300 that feels more important than that movie.
Everybody in this feels less important than 300. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Like, they just feel lesser than,
They
unfortunately.
do. But again, on this rewatch of 300, just the base film and the entire time, I felt so anti-Spartan. I don't know. Yeah.
I was not rooting for them.
No, that's the thing. Is like, and they almost have to make Xerxes just look worse, just to be like, yeah, like Xerxes might have some good points. Maybe we should side with him. But he's also like doing bad stuff. So yeah, he's bad.
Right. He's literally like, dude, like, can we not? Like, can we just not? Xerxes asked him, like, just bro, like, I'll give you everything. Just chill out.
Really, you know? the messenger throwing down the skulls with like the golden laurels and the heads of the other
killed
kings.
All of them. We learned.
Yeah.
Yes, right, which is fucking awesome. We do see all that. Really, that's the moment that's supposed to make you be like, oh, of course, these are the bad guys. But really, it's like, until you watch that prequel, it's like, I don't know, those could be tyrants. I don't know who they fucking killed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Again, he's giving him a choice: either kneel to Persia or die.
Yeah.
They come across like that one village where they put all the dead bodies in a tree or whatever, and it's like, see how bad they are. Like, they're
what
doing
Spartan children's lives will be. I'm Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very extra with.
But I actually do
the evil of the other. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But I actually love the scene where Xerxes and Leonidas meet, and there's the meeting of them where you see Xerxes kind of for the first time, and he's like this giant god, and he like puts his hands on like Leonidas's like shoulders, and it's like very menacing, and I'm just like, this guy's like menacing the shit out of me, but also he's like kind of like coming on to Leonidas.
He's balling on you. He's like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And like the imagery, like probably out of the comics, but like when he has people carrying his caravan, and then like they form steps for him to descend. It's like, that's kind of sick.
That has to be the first time I ever saw that. That really stuck with me.
That's like quite an entrance.
That's what they fucking do? Ugh.
But they're kind of contrasting Xerxes with Leonidas, where it's like, see, Leonidas fights side by side with his men. Xerxes just hides behind his armies and doesn't do anything.
Walks all over them, literally.
Yeah.
All I have to do is make a god bleed to show them that you can.
All that for a drop of blood.
Did you nice? Did you buy it the first time you saw this movie when Leonidas drops his shield and like you're like, no, is he gonna kneel?
No, is he kneeling?
I kind of bit. I was like, no.
I kind of did, yeah. I just remember being so satisfied the first time I watched this movie. Again, imagine that we're all 16 years old walking out of this. I just wanted to be a Spartan. I just wanted to start working out and stuff. That's really all I took away from it.
Yep.
I guess with my on this rewatch, I'm just like, I kind of don't agree with, like, I don't think he's a good leader, Leonidas, because he's willing to sacrifice his men when he could just kneel, and that would be the pragmatic thing to do. And as a leader, sometimes you do have to be pragmatic, and you can't just like, you're sacrificing your life and 300 of your soldiers for an idea that's going to unite Greece, and that's the whole idea of it, right? Is that this sacrifice was worth it because it unites all of Greece. But it's like
the spark that lights the fire that'll do a rebellion.
It's Rogue One. They are. Yeah. They give up their lives so that we can all have a better blah blah blah. Yeah,
that's what they.
But I just don't feel like you need to do that. Yeah, like you're committing suicide, basically.
I'm sorry. The one you just quoted, that was the Oscar Isaacs one, though, Mike. Those later bad Star Wars movies, I cannot. Yeah, boy.
They all go together.
Right.
Princess Leia says that, I believe.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, that's what it is. You're right.
But like, to your point, Jacob, like from page one, like the first scene when they're like, we make children fight each other. I'm like, I'm not on your side. Like, I don't like your society, your values.
I don't want to be a Spartan. I'd rather be in
This is utopia. Let me tell you how we get here. So first we do a genetic blood test to make sure you're what we call pure. Okay, great, good.
Then we
obviously the Greeks are just like white guys in this movie, right? Like there's no actual Greek actors in this movie, I don't think.
No, because they would be swarthy and brown. I mean, that's the enemy.
No, they're all Scottish and British people.
Yeah, must be beautiful.
Yeah, fascinating, like dichotomy, because there's cool shit in it, but it doesn't know what it's saying. Like you say, it is exactly what you get, and what you get is not great, like as far as what the theming is to me.
Well, that's why I think it's so fascinating as just an artifact of
2006.
I guess just this era, and but it's just like because it is so thematic, but it's questionable how much of that is the director's intent. It's just like so interesting that like I feel like movies like this don't really get made. Like they're not as like they're more neutered now, where it's like they're not really saying anything. And this movie actually
Bloodshot,
is saying,
Morbius, they don't the people that they get to
Yeah.
make the movies like this now, Jacob, they don't put their stuff into it. You're so
Yeah.
correct.
You
Yeah.
can say what
Yeah.
you want about Zack Snyder, but he definitely has this distinct style.
Yeah.
And again, whether, you know, obviously the Larry Fong of it all visually definitely, you know, is an influence, but he does have his stylistic tendencies that it's just like
Does one of the zombies rape one of the women? There's like a zombie birth, remember, right?
There's the dad from Modern Family filming himself like banging some chick. That's what we get in that.
That's okay.
Oh, in Dawn of the
Consensually,
Dead?
but yeah.
Yeah, but no sexual assault by a
No.
I need
zombie.
to
He
rewatch
saves
that.
that for his original zombie film, of course.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And again,
This one I'm
Watchmen,
saving for later, he says.
Yeah.
the comedian, there's a whole subplot of
Of course, that's
sexual
a
assault, which
very
is
big plot.
in the
yes.
graphic novel too.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes he just comes up with it himself. So anyway, weird
Yeah.
stuff, Zach.
But you know, he knows what he likes and he knows
Does
what he's
Zod
good at.
attack Superman's mom in the opening scene when like the planet is exploding?
Like flies out and try to murder her.
I think he
probably.
I
does.
don't know.
I think he like grabs her and Russell Crowe's like, no, right?
I don't
think-
remember.
If I was a betting man, I would definitely say yes. But
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I just
Sucks.
remember Kevin Costner, his adopted dad.
His real dad.
No, don't save me. It's okay. You don't have to. It's like, well, he could very easily probably save you, but and the
Isn't it
Spencer
weird that there's going to be a repeat of that scene in Horizon: An American Saga, Jacob, where Henry
Yeah.
Cavill plays cowboy Superman and he saves him
Oh, I
from a
can't
tornado?
wait. It's gonna be great.
I just like when him and his Papa Kent make that baseball field in the cornfield. You know?
Yeah, he says if you build it, they will come.
That's right. Oh man, I don't know. Have we exhausted the hot gates? Is it time maybe to roll into final thoughts?
Yeah, is there anything else you want to say before we get to that? Again, performance-wise, I wasn't blown away. It's just so weird to think about the impact this film had on. I wonder if young people feel that impact or if they've even seen this movie. I don't know.
It almost feels like this movie is forgotten from a forgotten era. Where like I don't know too many people that are like, oh, I saw 300 recently. Man,
I also had a lot of
crazy
people
movie.
reach out to me knowing that this was our 300th episode who said they never got around to seeing it, which I felt like it was so ubiquitous at the time. How could you miss it?
Right.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do want to
Yeah, I
talk
don't know.
about Watchmen in a future episode sometimes. We got to do Watchmen.
It's like the fact that like
Zach.
Mike, when you say you don't like his aesthetics ever and what he like marries to the films that he makes, when
Mhm.
he makes the movie that includes your favorite My Chemical Romance song in it, which like is dripping with your aesthetic, I would argue. We have to talk about Watchmen.
right.
And I have not rewatched it in a long time. And
Yeah.
I have been thinking in the back of my mind, is it possible? Could it have been ahead of its time given the grounded superhero and The Boys, like that kind of show of like a grounded, gritty superhero thing?
That's interesting. You're right. The mature, dark, quote unquote. But Mike,
Yeah.
that's also one where there's 3 cuts of that movie people argue about. The thing I like about 300, this is it as far as I am aware. We watched the
Right.
correct one because it's just this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I mean, with Watchmen, and I was a big fan of that when it came out because I was familiar with the source material, and I do think it's a pretty faithful adaptation of the source material. And I feel like, I mean, there's definitely some Snyderisms in there that feel a little gratuitous.
That's my word.
So, and I know, Alan Moore, I'm sure hated it, but he hates everything that people make based on his work, and he probably didn't even see it. So, I do want to see if that holds up at some point. Yeah, so,
I'm sure we'll get around to it.
Yeah,
And I am curious.
Before the 300 episode, I was saying like Watchmen's my favorite Zack Snyder movie, and I think it still is at this point.
I think it's still Dawn of the Dead, but that'd be
Same.
another one I'd be curious to rewatch. It's been so long. I don't know.
I've seen that more times on repeat because the original Dawn of the Dead is like my favorite zombie movie. So I've seen it more times than any of his films, and it's still my favorite. Ving Rhames.
At least that's written by James Gunn, so there's like a different voice involved.
Oh, and the guards are being weird creeps too in that. Yeah, there's gross stuff in it too.
The guards are at the mall first, and they start being weirdos to the girl. You're 100% right, Mike.
Damn it,
I do
Zach.
remember that.
I guess is Army of the Dead. Is there any weird stuff in that one?
Yeah, I 100%. I do believe a girl gets R'd by a zombie. I think that is true, isn't it?
Someone gets pulled to the weird.
There is like
there's
a zombie birth in that one, right?
Yeah,
there's a zombie birth in both his zombie movies. Yes.
Sure.
Zach, chill out, bro.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
And I guess to transition over there, it's like, and then you think about Rebel Moon. And all of the things that I don't like about 300 on this watch are things that are in Rebel Moon.
That he doubled down on.
Yeah. So
and again, I think 300 is a way better movie than the Rebel Moons.
For sure.
And it is because, to a certain extent, it's kind of like watching Citizen Kane, not to compare 300 to Citizen Kane, but it's like you see something from an old movie that's been replicated so many times. And you're like, well, that doesn't seem too like novel to me, but then you realize like that was the first movie to do that, and you're like, oh, it actually was a very influential movie. I kind of feel that way about 300. So
definitely, like I said, kind of a cultural touchstone. Maybe doesn't hold up the way we thought, but fascinating to look at. But yeah, let's hop on over and just kind of unpack our thoughts on 300 and maybe Rise of an Empire 2. Why not? Right after this.
We're back. We're here on Normies Like Us. We're wrapping things up, talking 300 on our 300th episode. And off pod just a second ago, we were talking about a little bit of the box office of this bad boy.
Yeah, because you mentioned like 496 million, something like that. And then I was like, well, what's that for inflation? This is 2006. It's almost 20 years ago. And that's $711 million.
That's a huge hit.
Is that domestic and international?
Worldwide.
Worldwide? Yeah.
So comparing all these worldwide, then we're like, oh, is this more than Godzilla and Kong? And it was. Godzilla x Kong, which is the number 2 movie this year, was 571.
Right.
But Dune 2, 711.8. It is right up there with making as much money as Dune 2 would, adjusted for inflation. That is bonkers.
And this year is only not even half over yet, so there's still time for other movies. Like when Deadpool and Wolverine comes out, it's probably going to be the highest grossing movie of this year.
But when I'm crying on this podcast and saying things like, well, how does this guy keep getting work? Or Mike's very famous. How does he keep getting away with this? We have to stop this man. That's why he made a movie that brought in an incredibly healthy profit, and he was given Man of Steel not necessarily because of he did Watchmen before that, which was a failure, quote unquote. But he knows how to use the effects and stuff. So from there, just having that experience, it stacks and stacks and it grows and grows. And he ends up owning DC. And now a portion of fans of that universe will never watch anything that company ever makes again. So what a weird domino effect. Yeah.
The surprising thing to me, and I've said many times, I was way more of a DC fanboy growing up than a Marvel fanboy. So I am very committed to wanting the DC movies to be good, right? So you can imagine through this whole Snyder era, I was not super pleased with the direction that these movies were going. And I'm just surprised that they sort of kept him so long, because I mean, even after Man of Steel, I was like, okay, that I didn't like that. Batman vs Superman, didn't like that. Justice League theatrical cut, didn't like that. Like, oh, you don't understand. We need the Snyder cut. It'll change everything.
Brought back.
Yeah, the Snyder cut comes out on HBO Max, right?
And keep in mind, by that point, he's already also produced Aquaman, Wonder Woman, all these other things.
Right. I mean, he was essentially the creative overseer of everything, right? The Kevin Feige of DC for a few years, where it's like, even when he's not directing the movies, like he has influence on everything, like the whole direction of the universe. Yeah. And now that's James Gunn, which is funny because of the Dawn of the Dead connection, right?
Wow.
But and I like James Gunn a lot more than Zack Snyder personally.
But Jacob, if you had seen this movie, okay, and then a year later you saw Sin City, and your brain is opened up to what I called graphic novel movies look like.
Right.
Wouldn't you, coming out of that, be like, oh, give that guy Superman and Batman meeting up, because comic book movies should look like that? I think my issue when I saw Man of Steel was like, oh, it doesn't look like 300.
Right. And even
it
after
looks
Watchmen,
like Dark Knight.
Yeah, it makes, like, after seeing Watchmen, I was like, it makes sense that he would be given the DC reins. But
of course,
I mean, Batman vs Superman, everybody hated that movie when it came out. It didn't do well at the box office, or it didn't do as well as they wanted it to do. And then they still were like, okay, let's go ahead with a Justice League movie. I mean, I could talk about for hours all the mistakes
trying to catch up to Marvel. They're like like rush with that whole process.
No,
that was a big part of
Avengers. Yeah, they tried to have an Avengers movie without doing all the legwork to set up all the individual movies.
Kevin Tsujihara, CEO of an amusement park prior to being president of Warner Brothers at the time all of these decisions were being made. No one behind the wheel was making good, smart... A guy who has now been basically fired for his own sexual promiscuity issues. So it's like, none of it's good. Let's just put that out there.
Right.
Yeah, I could talk for hours about Warner Brothers and all the mistakes they've made over the years. I mean, now they have David Zaslav.
Yeah, now they've even got maybe somebody worse behind them. It's like, my God. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
But the one right thing they did...
Peril, freaking Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
Anyway.
the one right thing they've done recently is hire James Gunn, in my eyes still. I mean, some people might be more negative about that, but I still think that it's going to be better than what we've gotten for the last, 10, 15 years, whatever. So...
Yeah, but that is an interesting connection with the Dawn of the Dead. And like even Superman, I haven't seen it, spoilers, Normies, right? But in his Superman, doesn't he like snap Zod's neck or something? And it's like dark and like...
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of Christian imagery, Mike. I don't know if you think that Zack Snyder is an intense Christian or Catholic, but he is.
Well, basically, Superman is God.
Is Jesus come to Earth? We punish him
to save us.
Part of that movie is that Batman wants to kill Superman because of all the collateral damage from his fight with Zod, where all these people are dying, and it's like Superman doesn't care about all these innocent people dying. Like, that seems like to go against everything that Superman stands for, but okay.
Right. So I think I mentioned up top though, James Gunn is shooting Superman in Cleveland. Like, he has a lot more lighthearted take. You look at his Suicide Squad and stuff. I like Peacemaker. So I'm intrigued with what he'll do compared to Zack.
I like all of it. I'm a fan of all of it. The one scene I don't understand in Man of Steel is when he picks up that baby in the beginning, Superman, and he examines its perfections and says, if there's something wrong with you, I will throw you into the sun. I just find that to be so weird.
Yeah, well, the Kryptonians, a lot like the Spartans, I guess.
Damn.
But yeah, James Gunn. I mean, the casting. I'm optimistic. David Corn Sweat over Henry Cavill. We'll see how it works out.
It's not his name.
David Corn Sweat, isn't that his name?
Corn Sweat? It's not Corn Sweat.
Corn
because of the Kansas of it all.
That's true. It might be Corn Sweat. I've never heard it out loud. That's great.
I don't know. Corin Sweat is what I'm...
Corn Sweat.
Corn Sweat.
Well, you got to hire me. My name is Corn Sweat.
I work hard.
Oh, well, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
I think James Gunn might possibly have a better take on Superman than Zack Snyder does. Just a hot take.
Once again, I don't think he's interested in graphic novels. I think he's interested in comic books and a comic book universe, whereas the only thing Zack Snyder has ever liked about these things is somebody going to him, well, did you hear this one particular comic book is dark and edgy? And him going, I love dark and edgy stuff. I should read that one comic book.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, what if like Star Wars was like dark and edgy though? You know, like, wouldn't that be sick?
And wheat,
bro.
And that's why it's
wheat in 300.
Frank Miller.
There is.
Graphic novels to me are funny because it's like, I want to read a novel, but like these novels all have too many words. Can I get one with like some pictures?
Yeah, I need some. It's got to be cool. It's still got to be cool. It can't be silly. Yeah.
But yeah, graphic novel is basically a way
to
make comics sound more prestigious. You bundle it's like a mini series of comics that are just bundled together in a book, right? Everyone knows what a graphic novel is, but
But it's like comic books are for nerds. You know, graphic novels are cool people read graphic novels. It's
and
like that.
Jacob pointed out the two main people, Alan Moore, Frank Miller, are kind of what you consider the people who either birthed or are primarily graphic novels. And Jacob, how we got through this without saying, it's so worth pointing out. Yes, he adapts Frank Miller for this 300. His Batman is based on the Batman Returns Frank Miller comic.
Yeah.
Like, he loves him so much. And he's constantly asked, oh, if you ever had to switch sides and come to Marvel, who would you do? And Zach's answer, because he's the least subtle person ever, oh, I always liked Frank Miller's Daredevil. I always liked all the Catholic guilt and that stuff. Where you're like, oh, you do, Zach? That resonates with you?
Yeah. That doesn't surprise
Jesus. Me. He can't, like, he again, I hate to keep saying incorrigible. He's incorrigible. You cannot stop him from his likes and interests.
You know how,
and that's why sorry.
Well, I'm saying in this movie is framed as Faramir, whatever, telling the legend of Leonidas, and he could be exaggerating his capabilities, let's say, to hype the men up. That's probably how Zach's career goes, like, and he's so good and visionary, like, and
the Snyder Cut, the Snyder Cut people are the ones who say the tale of when he came in the boardroom and they offered him all of the DC universe, and he said, "I shall use this. I shall use this to tell my story of the gods and the tales." And he was a good god king.
And you're like, Persian boardroom stood against him.
Yes, the evil Kevin Xerxes said, "But what if we want to take back our characters?"
That's why I defiant.
Yes, he kicked him in a hole.
It is funny. He has basically a crazy cult of, Snyder worshipers.
Man children.
That are like the Spartans. That I will die by you, King Zack.
The quote he has this dumb tattoo from the Marines that is, if I advance, follow me. If I run, kill me. That whole thing. They say that to each other before they do their big tweet storms. I want to point that out. It is
I wonder
very
if those people
Spartan.
Still exist post Rebel Moon.
I think.
Even Rebel Moon is.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Yes.
Interesting, because Jacob, the people who defend that movie, I look at all this stuff. So online, I saw that disappear almost immediately, that they're no voice. It very much switched back over to, well, what about give him the rights to the Netflix DC? Where you're like, I don't know what any of that shit is that you people beg, whatever.
Yeah.
Here's the two other things. He has a new Norse animated series for Netflix. So it's an animated cartoon on Netflix. Jacob will watch it, is what that means. And you'll tell us how bad it is. We just got a sneak peek. He said it's going to have lots of sex and violence, and you're like, great, whatever that means.
You love mixing those two things.
And yes, he does. And if you recall, I did my prediction in Rebel Moon Part 2, where we did a long talk. Listeners, go back and check that out, where we proposed to each other. What is the future? How does he get over this? How does he fix himself? What is this? I said to you guys, do television. He needs to find a strong collaborator like Henry Cavill, and he needs to do that Warhammer show. He needs to marry his ideas with someone who has better ideas, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what they've announced instead is he's returning to the 300 universe for a 300 TV show for Warner Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Questions are, we know what happens to all the 300. What is the show about? Like 300 Rise of an Empire. It's like, I know you have to call it 300 so people will know it's related, but it's like, it's not about them. What's the show?
It's Athenians, Revenge of an Empire, basically.
That's crazy. I mean, I know when he pitched Rebel Moon, like he had all these, like, it's going to have all this side, like, spin-offs and stuff on Netflix. Like,
which none of that's coming. We do have a release date for the director's cuts, which are on the same day, which I find also to be Netflix being we're just dumping this. It's no longer an event. We're done. We need to move past you, buddy.
Yeah.
That's wild. Disney doesn't know what they missed out on. This could have been a Star Wars. That's probably not Snyder called us.
Yeah. The one board meeting that fucking what's her name? Who's the Star Wars lady?
Kathleen Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy had one good week this entire month where afterwards she said, well, at least we didn't greenlight Rebel Moon.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But like you said, like if you combine him with someone with better ideas, that's why I'm kind of to bring up Watchmen again. Like I do wonder how that holds up because it's like Alan Moore. Like I like Alan Moore a lot
He's
more
different
than I
than
like
Frank Miller. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually like Watchmen kind of was like the original The Boys in a way, where it's like a satire of superheroes, this whole
Deconstruction.
idea. Yeah, it's a deconstruction of the superhero mythology and all that. Zack Snyder is not, as subtle as Alan Moore. So I'm wondering how that adaptation actually does hold up, where it's like, does he even understand what he's making?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have to
But I
cover
know
that
there's
some point in the future.
like issues where people think like Rorschach is a really swell guy, like so he kind of misses the
Right,
point
that's
in
the
certain
thing,
areas
yeah.
for sure.
Well, he
Yeah.
gives them all, like he gives Night Owl, who's supposed to be an overweight, sex obsessed, repressed weirdo. He gives him a
Right.
cool suit, and he's super handsome.
Played by
It's Patrick
Patrick
Wilson.
a
Yeah,
very
it's
handsome
like,
guy.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
again, he just misses all of it.
Because you have to
Right.
look like a god. 300. It
He's
all
gonna
have
comes
a-
back home.
Yeah, he's gonna have a sex scene. And it's going to be scored by Hallelujah, the most cliched song I could possibly think of for this.
He loves
sex
Leonard
scene.
Use
Cohen,
it
though.
again.
God.
Yeah.
He's the most basic bitch on the planet. You just imagine him with his pumpkin spice latte, just like jamming along.
Yeah,
What a himbo.
I love
That's
him.
a
He's
good
a
way to
himbo.
put it.
Himbo.
Well, that's the
He
thing,
is.
like everyone that works with him says he's like such a great guy to work with. Like Jason Momoa loves him, and
Up
Jason Momoa
top, as
also
soon as you walk in,
himbo.
he's
Here's the
giving
thing:
you high fives.
golden retrievers are great dogs. You don't let them drive a car; they can't
Right.
do it. Like you just you have to let them do what they can do.
You do
Yeah,
not judge a fish for its ability to climb a tree, Yeah.
right.
Just stay in your lane.
Well, we love you, Zack Snyder. Godspeed.
It's going to be fascinating as I continue my journey. I cannot escape him.
Yeah.
And how I said on the Furiosa inside all of us there are two Georges? There's
Yeah.
also two Millers, and one is Frank and one is George, and I still prefer
Wow.
George.
There's no Frank Miller inside me. I want to
Fair.
make that clear.
Me neither.
I'm leaving this with a compliment. I want to say about Zach, I have seen directors who have gotten 1/10 of the vitriol this man has just collapse into self-harm and just cycles of leaning into just the wrong element and just becoming bad dudes, whatever. This guy, bomb after bomb, whatever after the press tour Rebel Moon, this guy is fucking all smiles. It seems like it is just water off his back. I don't know. God bless to that, man. I don't
already
know.
on, man.
Yeah.
He just keeps on trucking. Like, God bless you for that.
No, it
I
really
guess.
seems like he doesn't even know sort of the larger discourse around like his work or whatever. And with
People don't like the slow-mo stuff, huh?
Yeah,
You're like,
true.
But even in the DC era, when it was like the
Feeling-
Snyder cultists versus the anti-Snyder people online, he's like,
the rest of the
I don't
world.
even pay attention to that stuff. I just try to make cool movies, basically. And it's just like, keep doing your thing, buddy. You're doing great.
He probably
Yeah.
could have said a couple more times, "Stop threatening to kill people," but
I think he did that at least
He's
once,
just-
where he's like,
he
I
did it
don't
at least
condone any of
once.
that.
That does count. So yeah,
Oh, man. What
Like,
I
a-
don't know.
That's what's so fascinating. Like, again, politically, he's like a very standard Democrat. He's like, yeah, this character in Rebel Moon is going to be non-binary. So he tries to at least
again.
make,
Cool.
overtures to that.
I can see him being like, Lena Headey should be in this because we need a cool woman. And again, it's like the
Yeah.
content doesn't mean anything to him. But he is trying.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, like Rebel Moon. Oh, Sophia Boutella. She's such a badass woman. She's going to be the star of this movie.
Nobody
Right.
else is writing those roles.
Yeah.
No, and yeah, I think, so I said politically, he's like fairly like, liberal and stuff. And like, it's just, he doesn't understand art. That's all. He just,
No, he just doesn't.
But he's not a bad man. Like, he's not, I don't think it's like
No.
an evil person. He's just an incompetent person, and that's okay.
I think there's a lot of people who don't understand art who are good people.
Yeah.
I
And there's
think he
good
means
artists
well.
that are bad people. It's
Yes,
just-
at
one doesn't necessarily-
100%. 100%.
And what's so funny
Mhm.
about that whole DC era when it was sort of like Zack Snyder versus Joss Whedon, who has
Oh.
made stuff that I like, but is
Mhm.
not a very good person, turns out. So
Yeah,
it's like you
that's
never really
so
know.
weird.
Yeah.
So by that metric, good work, Zach. Like, way to be.
The cheers that people had when Joss stole Justice League back from Zack to correct the
Right.
ship, Jacob. And again, what you know from their personal lives.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's hard.
I like a lot of Whedon stuff, you know, Firefly, Buffy. We did a whole episode on
Man.
Buffy because I watched it.
We're doing a
It's
Summer
just-
Glau episode right after this. That's our
Yeah.
next episode. Is that what you want to announce, Jacob?
Absolutely.
Yep, the summer of Glau. It starts now.
The Summer of Glau. She's coming back. I don't know what she's
Firefly,
done last
Terminator
decade.
the series, something else.
Yeah. Oh man.
Tell him, Jacob, tell us what is our next episode.
Oh, well, we're returning to the planet. And you know what this planet has on it? Or maybe we're escaping.
I was going to say, we can't possibly be returning to
We
it based
can't
on
return
the
to the
last
planet
thing we
'cause it blew
watched.
up.
It's gone from what I understand.
But we
Yeah,
will be
Chris Colin has to
escaping
make sure.
from the planet of the orangutans.
Hey,
Wow.
the planet
Monkeys
of
mean
the
monkeys.
old world monkeys. Yeah.
The
That's right,
planet
mean
of the
monkeys.
Leonidases? Wow.
Wow.
What would
And then
Zack
we got
Snyder's
some
Planet of the
great,
Apes be like? Very
That is a
strong.
franchise with a famous Caesar in it.
Oh,
That's my Roman Empire.
obviously he would make Caesar like an analogy to God, and be like, if you're not worshiping Caesar, the God King, then I don't know
You
what.
know
Then
what,
he'd be
though?
Jesus, because then he gets sacrificed, et tu brute.
Yeah.
Just like Jesus.
Xerxes or Leonidas for ape names in the next ape movie? I'd be into that, let me
pretty
tell
good.
you.
Yeah.
Fucking Xerxes? I'd be
Proximus.
like, shit. Yeah,
our-
Proximus
Proximus
Xerxes.
had a Leonidas working under him. It was a gorilla. I'm like, damn. All right.
Dude,
Yeah,
that
not
would
gonna
be
mess with that gorilla.
awesome.
Take our
So
ideas.
That's next week, escaping
Yes.
from the planet of
Movie
the Apes.
3 of the original
Movie
franchise.
3.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got some great TV shows out right now. A lot of shows coming out, so we will be talking about all of that. You know, our Houses of Dragons, our
Mhm.
Acolytes, our Boys, everything
Yeah.
else. So
Well, and that was a quick wrap up on 300. Let's just do a quick wrap up on doing 300 episodes of this podcast. I'm so
Yeah.
happy. Go back and listen to our
Yeah.
299 before this, which is a little bit more of a breakdown of the show, right? It's just more of
Yeah.
our it's a whatcha, so it's a casual hangout with your hosts.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Do you remember even what we did for like the 200th episode?
I can't.
Which are probably
It's
just
impossible.
a whatcha.
I think
Yeah.
they're
It's,
just
I would
big
imagine
watches.
both those are watches. Yeah,
Yeah.
big watches.
I think it
Yeah.
just made
300.
fancier thumbnails.
We
We've
maybe
done
say
basically
in that
one a
episode that we'll
week.
never get to a 300th episode, but yes, we have.
Oh, I'm
We've
sure,
maintained
yeah.
an incredible pace. We missed this one is coming out on a Wednesday, but that's all right. We don't care about that.
Yeah,
A day
yeah,
late, but
Apologies.
yeah. Yeah, if we do one a week, how many years or how long have we been
Oh.
doing it for? Because how many weeks are in a year? Like 52 or
52.
something.
Yeah.
And
I-
you know, we take a week off for like holidays sometimes, like Christmas, but we've pretty much done, I wouldn't say like probably 50 a year then.
So let's
that's
say
like
6 years.
6
yeah.
years? Is that true?
Sheesh. I have season 7 on here, but I just switch when the new year rolls over. So I think it's been 6
Yeah.
years, but we started in May of 1 year, so kind of rolled through.
That's
It's been a great
wild.
6 years.
That's
I've had a
wild.
hoot
Yeah.
about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's made me so happy.
it's one of my.
I always
favorite
enjoy
things of the week
talking with
is
you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's all right.
Getting my thoughts out. It's good. So appreciate it.
We appreciate
You
all
podcast
our
with the
listeners
man
out
on
there.
your left, and he will podcast with you, right? Yeah.
That's right. Get your shields up. But thank you
Together.
so much, Normies. You know, everyone out there listening, we
Mhm.
love you, and we really appreciate you.
Yeah.
We do.
Right?
So that was our 300 on 300. Wow.
Can you believe it? So keep watching along at YouTube. Follow us at Normies_like_us. Rate, review, subscribe. Do that for our 300th episode. That'd be a great gift for us if you rated the podcast. That helps out quite a bit.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And here's to another 300.
Oh, the TV show that's coming out?
Did you hear there? Yeah, that's when we'll cover the 300 TV show, episode
Yeah.
600.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, man.
I can't wait for
Yeah.
episode 666.
Ooh.
We'll have to do the Omen on that one or something.
Just doing
Ooh.
Hellraiser again.
Yeah. Oh,
The
no.
bad ones. Just the bad
We're
ones.
back.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Well, what a milestone. Thanks. I'm proud of us. This is awesome, So it is very
Yeah.
cool to actually be
Hell
at
yeah.
300.
I'm just proud that we had the commitment to stick with it for so long. Like I've never stuck with anything so long in my life, probably. So.
Yes.
Fair.
Yeah, this is the
patting ourselves on
biggest
the back.
achievement in my life. I listed out achievements to someone in my life recently, and when we couldn't come up with anything, I did say, well, I have been doing that podcast for a while.
Yeah. Don't downplay beating Elden Ring. That's
true.
That's true. You beat
That's right.
You beat it. Yeah.
I'm the Elden Lord, and I've recorded 300 episodes of a podcast.
Hey, that's
so you're a white guy in his 30s?
Yeah.
How did you know? I have the dedication of this podcast of a Spartan warrior to his war.
Here we go.
Yeah,
That's
all right. We've been your hosts. This is Colin Xerxes.
Mike Simus.
This is Jakey Alties.
Nice. All right.
Thanks, Normies.
Thanks, Normies.
And remember, this is podcasting.
Yeah, tonight we pod in hell.
Tonight we pod in hell.
Bye.